So, um, the so this was, first of all, I like what you said before about how this applies, how your idea applies to interpersonal relationships, and I enjoy talking with you about that, and I think it is helpful for me to learn your perspective, and I appreciate your perspective. One thing I wanted to ask you, and this is meant as a little bit of a challenge to you, I think, but I don't want to be aggressive with my challenge, is there's, in philosophy, there's kinds of positive and negative theories. Maybe I should say in quotes, positive and negative. And as I understand those terms, positive would be like saying, I think things should be like this. You know, like if you were to say, I think you should be a vegan because I'm a vegan and being vegan is good, and here's all these reasons why being a vegan is important. Okay. I used to be a vegan, so I can appreciate that. And you might feel that way. And that's not against you or for you if you do or don't feel that way. So I don't have a judgment about that kind of thinking. This is just me trying to describe the term. A negative theory, as I understand it, is like a critical one, where instead of saying, here are all the objectives, here are the things that we should do, here are the kinds of ways of being that you should possess, or that I should possess, or that describe this thing, even. It's not even a matter of should, but here, instead of saying here are all the attributes, this kind of theory is one if we're slicing away and sort of, hey, wait a second. You know, there's a theory that says, hey, wait a second. So if we were to talk about economics, it would be like coming up with a critical discourse. So we would say, what are the different ways where we could say, hey, wait a second? What are the sort of ways where we could say, for example, you could come up with a negative theory of the commons, and you would say, hey, wait a second, that isn't contributing to the commons. This is contributing only to retiring yourself. Or, hey, wait a second, your idea of it coming from within, where'd you get that idea? Did that idea truly come from within? You know, so it would be a way of, and it sounds more aggressive, it sounds more like these are hostile questions, but they're not meant to be that way. They're meant to be, instead of saying, like, here's an example. Marx would be like, look, it's all about value, and it's all about destroying capitalism, and it's all about the work. It all comes back to this thing, you know, like the creation of communism or something. A negative theory would be like, well, hey, wait a second. You know, what's really going on right now? Do we really see, all of these ideas of Marxist theory right now? Do you see what I'm saying with the distinction? I don't know if I'm doing a very good job of comparing these things. I don't have the definition right now to read from. But one more example would be like pedagogy. Am I saying pedagogy is the stuff that people should be doing? Or am I saying here's a practice that you can take into a context if you want to and start whittling away at what was there and saying, hey, wait a second, these are relationships of power and control. I want to find a more egalitarian way to relate in this situation. That would be my hope, is that pedagogy is not something you sort of say, okay, I'm going to do it all by the book, and then finally I get my certificate and I become a pedagogue. It's like, it's a range of techniques that you could use in situations if you want to, and extend and even whittle away at those techniques and refactor them to come up with something else. And I don't know if it is yet this kind of critical discourse where you can say, hey, wait a second, and really get some benefit out of doing that. But so I feel like I've done a very sloppy job defining positive and negative theories, but I wanted to challenge you with those ideas, because I know that you are a very positive thinker and you like to think positive thoughts and you like to think about well-being. But I think my inclination is to think a little bit more negatively and say, well, hey, wait a second, how do you know that that's well-being? And that's not against you or against you thinking well-being. It's just my general inclination to go, hey, wait a second. And that's not meant to be rude. It's only meant to be, it's actually kind of encouraging, like, does that make sense? So that's the level you asked before about email. That's the level of skepticism I'm bringing to this conversation. It's not negative or anti.